Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kanak Gupta. I'm the director of St. M.R. Jaipuria Schools. I am very glad, very thankful to Calorex Group for inviting me for what appears to be a very fun chat. Thank you so much for having me here. I look forward to receiving some comments, some questions, some suggestions from all of you. I'll be talking to you about something very relevant, which is what would life be post lockdown? What would we expect post lockdown in terms of our mental health, in terms of our emotional well being? Because this is an unprecedented time. This is something that none of us have foreseen, and that this is something that none of us were ever ready for. But we are facing it real time, and these are real issues that we need to talk about. I'm so glad that Ananta ji is also on the video. Thank you, Ananta ji, for inviting me for this interaction. Right. So all of us have been facing this for a very long time. All of us have been indoors under lockdown. This is now lockdown 3.0. And we, being human beings, we are not accustomed to this. We are not very used to staying indoors by force. And this has been asked by the governments across the world and by medical practitioners, by experts, that to beat the spread of COVID-19, we need to stay indoors. Obviously, this has had an impact on schools functioning, on the functioning of the learning of the children, which has taken its toll. I want to start talking about that we need to firstly say kudos to three stakeholders who definitely get missed out many times. The parents who've done so well after the lockdown started to ensure that kids can learn at home. To our teachers across the world who are doing a fabulous job of taking this teaching learning online without much preparation. I think it's been wonderful. Kudos to teachers across the world. To our children everywhere, very well done. On 22nd of March, we said that from tomorrow, no school, you guys have to stay home and learn, and our children did that. And our children have been learning, not knowing fully what would happen. It has affected every aspect of our life. It's affected the functioning of our children. It's very personal. This is something I want to tell everyone. It's very personal. Because, and I'll tell you how personal it is and how did I realize that it's very personal. The other day, I was putting my daughter down to sleep, and she asked me that when the schools open up, and whenever they open up, be it now, be it in July, be it in October, be it next year, will I be able to share my tiffin with my friends? And I did not have an answer. And that's when I realized that this is something which is probably going to be faced by us for a very long point of time. There is going to be a lot of fear. There are going to be a lot of apprehensions. We are not acclimatized living indoors. Now that we are acclimatized in the last sort of 42 days staying indoors, now we have to re-acclimatize ourselves going back into the world where we feel that we have some chance of getting the virus from our friends, from the people nearby, people who we travel with, all of that. So we'll have to sort of recondition our minds to be okay about interacting with people all over again. It's not going to be simple. And the reason I say it's not going to be simple is that there is a fear. And this fear is real. We are afraid that we might get the virus ourselves and the cure period might be longer. We are also afraid that we might pass on the virus to our friends, to our family, which we do not want to do that. It is that contagious. So it's important that we maintain social distancing, maintain excellent hygiene. I read this somewhere that, a normal person touches his or her face about once every 3 minutes. That 20 times in an hour you'll be touching your face. It's not natural for us to suddenly control touching. I'm someone who touches my face a lot as well. So I think that for us, it's important to firstly own this up. That yes, we are afraid. Yes, there is a problem that we're trying to handle. Yes, we are trying to follow government advisory of healthcare experts as well. I think it's something that we need to keep telling yourself every single day that yes, this is a problem, but always hope over fear. That's my first sort of giveaway, takeaway, whatever you want to call it for today. That always hope over fear. Make sure that you have a lot of hope about things being all right. Make sure that you plan way ahead. This lockdown has essentially ensured that all of us have become better planners. I genuinely feel that once things come back to normal, I don't know if this is the new normal that will go on for the next 18 months or the next 10 years. I really do not know. But this is a normal which has made us more organized. We know how to plan better. We know how to use technology better. And I think there are 300 million strong families which have now become, have made sure that, your living rooms have become classrooms. There are further challenges that are coming up in the future. I'm sure that once we plan better, once we take these skills that we've now acquired because forcefully by the lockdown, we'll be able to plan much better. The other thing I feel is that somewhere down the line, we will all become kinder. We'll have more compassion for each other. And that's a blessing that we should count on. I think moving further ahead, we should look at making the most of this horrible situation that we've been put into. I'm going to talk about an acronym that we use at my organization, which is working well for everyone. We call it AROPE. AROPE. We talk about A for agility. Now, what's happened is that we're all changing on an everyday basis. New things are coming up, new advisories coming up. We are changing our modus operandi on an everyday basis. We are talking about new technologies coming in, new style of pedagogies. We're trying to bring every stakeholder on board with us. So when you change a lot, it's not something which is very bad. I feel that's agility. And to succeed in life, we need to be agile. So that's very important that we remember that. The second word we work on is R, reflect. We reflect as to what the situation was during the pre-COVID times, and we reflect as to how we can make most of this unfortunate situation going forward. That's something which is important. O we use for opportunity. There's a lot of opportunity for each and every one of us. And I'm not saying it in the classical sense when we say that every tragedy for some can be an opportunity for someone else. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that there's an opportunity for all of us to get more organized, to make the most of situations, to find synergies between each other, to discuss more, to spend more time doing things that we normally, traditionally would not be doing. Because let's be very honest about it, even after this lockdown ends, and I'm assuming it's going to end on the 17th of May, and things open up, there is 100% possibility that we are going to come back into a lockdown situation till the time the virus vaccination is found and it is administered to a lot of people. I think that's something we'll need to remember. So that opportunity is going to come again to keep doing things that you don't normally do. That's important for us to start focusing on. Do something every day that you love. Do something every day that is new. So that opportunity for you to do is also always there. There's another, the next word on the acronym is P, patient. We need to have a lot of patience. And this lockdown has made us patient. We are okay about waiting for a couple of days for our groceries to be delivered. We are okay patiently waiting for the network to buffer and still go online and have our meetings, to have our classes, to speak to our friends and our families and our colleagues. We've become very patient. This patience we'll need to carry forward going further. Last but not the least is E, which we use for empathy. Very, very important to have empathy. Empathy essentially means, for those who might not get it, empathy essentially means being in someone else's shoes. looking at things from someone else's point of view. It's important to do that, that we understand the other's perspective, what they'll be doing, what they'll be saying. It's important to do that. Technology is making life easier for each and every one of us. Technology is making it easier for us to talk, to collaborate, to continue work. However, technology is still a platform now we are using. We still need to have empathy towards each other. So I think that is what is guided us right from the start. We started calling it a rope to get us out of any sort of well that we are all into. A lot of it will sound like complicated. A lot of things that I'm saying will sound complicated to a lot of people. A lot of people might think that, this is something which is not going to help me or whatever. But what I always say is that, try keep it as simple as you can. Try look at things from your own perspective. Try to internalize. Try to look at things as to how it will affect you. Learn from everyone, but then you have to internalize and develop your own processes, your own set of guidelines that you'll have to do. The second thing that I wanted to talk to everyone about was taking care of your mental health and your emotional well-being after the lockdown. Now, when we look at a lockdown scenario, our mental health and our emotional well-being, because being from an education system, we are all looking at a place where we are connected to each other with physical proximity. We are connected to each other where we talk to each other on a more regular basis. There is a lot of touch, there's a lot of feel, there is a lot of interactions that happen in close quarters, inside a classroom, in the school premises, when you have assemblies and when you have principals talking. All of that is right now looking at it's going away. We are looking at an education system which will be hybrid. Essentially, we will have to continue online learning, and we will have to have students coming back to school whenever, be it now, 6 months down the line, whenever schools be that way. But things such as social distancing will still be in place. We are looking at kids coming to school with masks, with gloves, and it will have an impact on the children. It will have some, impact on the learning as well as the emotions of children. Now, we'll have to be okay about it, because firstly, there is no choice. And secondly, if this is the new normal, we need to start preparing for it. And when we start preparing for it, only then will we be able to execute it. There's a lot of things that are there in a school that are absolutely to do with touch. We talk about sports, contact sports. We talk about theater, music, drama, everything that happens with children is with a lot of touch. And that has confused children a lot, because they're seeing their teachers on the screen. They're seeing their parents being home all the time. They're being told that you cannot go downstairs to play, because there is a definite fear of the virus, and from getting it from someone and passing it on to someone. From a school perspective, we are also looking at the transport system absolutely going down. I don't know how comfortable parents are going to be about sending kids to hostels if you have residential campuses. So these are things that we need to be aware of. These are things that we need to talk about. Just think about a monumental task where you have to go to a cafe or to a mall or to go watch a movie. Put yourself in a child's shoes, because you have been taking your children to watch a movie, to have a meal outside. Will you be able to actually do that without a fear in your heads? Now, when you're doing all of that, I need to be very, very clear that I do not have solutions for it. No one has solutions for it. No one has absolute answers. So the first thing that I want all of us to know. We don't know. We're all still finding the answers. So please, let's just keep looking for it. Keep sharing more. The second thing we all want to do is talk to your children. They are leaps and bounds ahead of us. They are leaps and bounds ahead of us with the understanding, with the empathy, with the sympathy, with everything, because they've handled this situation way better than any one of us. And I think you need to talk to your children about facts. about realistically telling them what is going on, and about realistically telling them that you might not have answers today, but you will try to find answers sooner rather than later. I think unless we do that, and if we don't just impose numbers on children, it will be important in shaping their mental aspects as well. I feel that somewhere, if children do not get the real picture, they will not get a true sense of the learning. We are very clear that whatever that we are doing in terms of online class, whatever we are doing in terms of engaging children with activities, with kind of things that we do generally, like for example, at our schools, and I'm sure it's happening across the board, where we do yoga classes for our children, we do dance, drama classes for our children as well, to engage them, because there are things that they wanted to do. Ultimately, you are still doing it from a screen, and this looks like this could be the new normal. So until and unless you make your children okay about it, they will not be able to come out of the shell. I'll give you another example. There is we conducted some music sessions with Ehsan Nurani, who's partnered with us, and students got such a nice flavor of learning the guitar from the great man, from Shankar Ehsan Loy, where they could see his chords playing very, very close because of the screen. So we started then talking to them about the benefits of using the technology better. Absolutely changed the perspective towards music and towards learning of music and towards learning otherwise as well. A lot of children actually reached out to us and told us that they feel very stifled at home. They feel that they are being subject to probably just keep looking at screens. It's affecting their mental well-being. They are not being able to talk to their friends. They don't have privacy because parents are always there. And we looked at it and we said that, okay, hang on, these are real issues. Hang on, these are things that children are tackling on an everyday basis. There's been a lot of news about a particular incident in Delhi NCR in the last 48 hours with the boys' locker and the girls' locker room. There's been also a lot of talks about this problem now percolating to other cities such as Ahmedabad and Calcutta, where similar groups are being formed. Last month we talked about a situation where Zoom bombing was happening. There was a lot of kids who were going into the chat rooms of some of the other kids. A lot of Zoom bombing was happening. You were looking at IDs and passwords. Now, I really don't think that the child is at fault. I really, really don't think that the child is doing it intentionally. We need to counsel these children. We need to reach out. We need to talk to them. We need to understand from them as to how did they think that this was absolutely all right to do that. I was observing class of one of my very good friend's schools. I'm not going to name the school, but the names that the children chose for themselves in that chat room were Osama bin Laden, or they were Amitabh Bachchan or Sunny Leone or Tom Cruise. And the students said that, when the principal asked that, why are you guys using these names? The students said that we need some avenue to vent out. We need some avenue to vent out our anguish. We are getting very, very bugged sitting at home. So we need more. So what we started doing then, and we were inspired by that. So what we started doing then, we started speaking to parents offline in the sense on the phone, and not just on video calling. We started speaking to the parents on the phone, or even on video call, and we asked them as how is your day going? How is the child's day going? How are you planning your activities? And we started getting even more granular with the planning of the child's activities. We told our teachers, speak to the children very informally, absolutely about what is going on, and nothing to do with studies, nothing to do with learning. Learning will happen. You need the overall development of the child. We talk about 21st century skills. We talk about decision making. We talk about the ability to work in teams. I think these are the skills, leadership, analysis. These are the skills that we are looking at essentially in the long run. Then, okay, learning of content will happen, but let's first make sure that the child is all right. And then the feedback we started getting from teachers was like, the class was even better. Now the child is interacting more, because they moved from a state of imposition to actual sharing of their problems to now contributing. Now we made child at the center of the teaching learning process all over again. What we talk about theoretically, that there should be flipped classrooms, we talk about theoretically that there should be peer learning, group projects. This is a wonderful opportunity that we've gotten. And I think I'm seeing a comment that you're doing absolutely the same thing. I'm so glad to hear that. I'm so glad to see one more comment which says that music, yoga, aerobic sessions, excellent. I'm so happy to read all of this, because these are the things that will differentiate our experience from being contributing to just the content learning at home to actually development and growth of the child. I think it's very important. There's another comment that stayed with me, which scrolled up, that 2 weeks ago life changed, and I couldn't agree more. 2 months ago life changed. I couldn't agree more. 2 months ago life completely changed, and life changed with something by force and something not by force. I think it's important for us to realize that. Right. So going back, when we started doing these kind of things, we got very positive responses from our students who were now contributing more in the classroom and beyond classroom as well with their parents. The next thing we did was we started doing parent-teacher meetings with parents, and in a very formal structure on video calls, etc. And I think that also helped us quite a lot. During this time is when we found the anguish that the parents are facing. We needed to get more information from parents, and parents shared their apprehensions. How will my child go to school in a school bus? When my child goes to school, will there be social distancing norms? That would mean that right now you have about 35 to 40 kids in a class. Will you be running the school with 20 kids? When will the other 20 kids come? Will my child be missing out on the learning? When my child goes to the washroom, how often do you see the toilets being cleaned? At the canteen, will there be highest level of hygiene being maintained? If your school was taken over as a quarantine center, what kind of sanitization have you done? If my child coughs, or if someone else's child coughs, will you shut down the school again? Will my child be wearing a mask? You're not accustomed to this, but these are the questions, guys, that will come to us, that are coming to us, that we are all getting ready for. Because what this has done, what COVID-19 has done, it has put all of us in the absolute same boat. All of us have the exact same information, and all of us are trying to find the exact same solutions. So for us to have that solution, when we say it, that we are all in this together, we genuinely need to come together. We genuinely need to collaborate as humanity to help each other out. What are some of the things that we can do? Before I get into more details on this, one thing I wanted to reach out to everyone. Let us stop being very competitive about information sharing. I've seen that in the last 3 months, last 2.5 months, everyone's very, very competitive about sharing information. I got this number first, I got this information first. I think it's okay to continue being patient with the thing. I think it's okay for us to say, I see that someone's written that as a parent, we also have the same fear. Absolutely, ma'am. You will have the same fear, and we acknowledge and appreciate that fear will always be there for a long time. To schools, it will be a long battle. It is not going to end very, very soon. And we should not shy away from it. We should not put this on a backtrack. It will be a long drawn battle that we should be ready for. And someone asked me recently that how soon do you see schools opening up? I have 3 scenarios. best case scenario, a realistic scenario, and the worst case scenario. My best case scenario is schools opening in July. My realistic scenario is schools opening in September. And my worst case scenario is that this academic year gets lost out, and then lost out in the sense that, you know, we don't go back to the brick and mortar classrooms, we continue in this format, and then you know, schools open up next academic year is what we are looking at, right? So coming back to the previous point, I've seen that people have gotten very competitive with information sharing. I've seen that people have gotten very egoistic about a lot of matters, and I always tell people that, you know, I'm an optimist. I genuinely feel that, you know, you should be very, very positive with everything. So I tell people that, you know, this COVID-19 has made you patient. This COVID-19 has made you a lot more realistic. Please continue being that patient. Please continue being that realistic. It's important to collaborate with each other rather than compete with each other about information sharing. There's also another problem that is being reported by experts, which is about mood swings. There is a lot of people who've said that, you know, there are mood swings that children are facing, that parents are facing. Now, it will happen, guys. You know, mood swings will happen, and mood swings will happen because we're not used to it. We're not accustomed to this. We have not done this before. Hopefully we'll never have to do this again, and you know, very soon a vaccine would be found and we'll be able to move away. But every time, this is what, you know, I started doing, that every time I was getting overwhelmed with technology, and every time I was getting overwhelmed with you know, this unfortunate situation of being in a lockdown, I started walking around the house. I started doing push-ups. I would do 20 push-ups every time I would feel agitated. I trained my mind, I trained my own emotions that let's do it. And I saw myself becoming calmer. I saw myself trying to realize that, you know, we will not be in this forever, but like, we need to face this, tackle this better on. You know, and there's another thought that came to a lot of people, and they messaged me that do you feel that things such as street food will ever be available ever again? Will we be going to restaurants? Will we be taking public transportation in the future? Honestly, I don't have answers for all of that, but what I'm saying to everyone is that mentally, emotionally, please be prepared for it. That these are the things, these are some of the luxuries that we had at one point of time, which might not come back to us. So I don't want to make it sound pessimistic at all, but I really want to put it out there that these are things that you and I, all of us, need to be ready for. Obviously, it's easier said than done. Obviously, it's something which is important for us to realize, but it's not going to be easy to implement. But with practice, with consistently doing it, by keeping things normal in your mind, you would be able to do some justice to your family, to your friends, and I think that is what will make the difference. There are 5 C's that I talk about, that you know, all these problems that we are facing about social distancing, going out, isolation, trying to think alone, work alone, trying to look at your friends, family through a screen, and not being able to go out, probably continuing learning from your living room. All of that, you know, there are 5, and everyone was telling me that sir, there are 2 words that we are getting very scared of. One is obviously Corona, the other is COVID-19, and I realized that there are 2 C words, and I came up with 5 C words to defeat these 2 C words. And I think I'm going to tell you these C words, and then we'll talk more. The first C word that I have is calm. C-A-L-M, calm. Don't panic. You know, if there is a possibility that all of us will be faced with another lockdown, there is a strong possibility that, you know, most of us will be, you know, at some point or the other getting coronavirus infected. It may happen. Hope it doesn't happen to you or to anyone else. But there's a possibility it will. Whatever happens, please stay calm. The more calm you stay, the more calm you'll spread across. And that will be important. The second C word I have is stay connected. calm, connected. Now connected either via your technology, video conferencing calls, etc., or stay connected to your friends, your family within the same household. Stay connected to people, talk more, express yourself, get whatever's there inside out, whatever's there in here, get it out. You know what we've started doing through our balconies, through using our intercoms? We do storytelling sessions. Now, a lot of grandparents who are also home, they do storytelling sessions for kids who are in the same society. I think that's very, very interesting, and kids find it very, very engaging. And we find that people are communicating more with each other. You're realizing that, hey, this is how you can tackle this situation. The third C I have for you is compassion. Have a lot of compassion for everyone. You know, I'm going to put this out there. I saw a lot of memes and a lot of jokes going out where people are making fun of, someone who's a COVID warrior, or someone who's a COVID warrior, such as teachers, policemen, cleaners, and doctors, and people would start making jokes and memes around it. And it really bothered me. And because you need to have compassion for these people. I'm just going to give you a lifestyle of a teacher right now. And I feel that there are a lot of teachers and a lot of parents out there who need to hear this. Now the teachers facing the exact same, our teachers across all schools of the country, across the world, are facing this virus and the lockdown as much as anyone else. The teachers would have to, traditionally in our households as well, wake up in the morning, contribute to the family activities, prepare for the classes, be ready for the classes, send across a video or do a real-time live class, get assessments assessments from the children, grade them, send it back, get some questions from kids, at the same time manage their own family lives. They're putting themselves out there. It's not simple. It's not simple. And if we feel that we can do it better, if we feel that we can contribute to all of that, I think you should go ahead and do it, because that's what the world needs right now. Until and unless the teachers get the kind of support that they deserve at this point of time, they'll not be able to deliver. And not just the teachers, the parents. There's so many parents out there who are doing wonderfully well. All of us are trying to balance our work lives, our family lives, the education of our children. We all have that fear. I think somewhere we need to have more compassion going to each other. So my next C is compassion. My fourth C is cheerful. Stay cheerful. It's important to laugh. It's important to try make the most of this situation, but try laugh more. It's said that when you practice something for 21 days, it becomes a habit. If you try laugh about things for 21 days, you will actually become better in situations in a positive manner. So laugh more, tell more jokes, not just about things that you are interested in, but also about things otherwise as well. Try look at the brighter side of life. I think that's very, very important. And my fifth C for all of us is clean. Wash your hands, sanitize your hands, make sure you don't touch your ears, mouth, nose. Keep washing and keep sanitizing your hands. So that's my fifth C. So a lot of people always reach out to me and said that, Corona and COVID-19, sir, it's bothering us. It's really going to bring us down. So I said that, these are the 2 C's that are bothering everyone. I'm going to give you 5 C's that you'll be able to tackle and take it forward. A lot of parents have actually reached out to us and also told us about the other things that, kids who've had their birthdays during this time. Kids have gotten depressed that they've not been able to celebrate their birthdays with their friends. A lot of kids have actually said that, a cake which was baked is not as good as something from outside and their favorite baker, or going out, things like that. And it has bothered the children. I think it has bothered the children a lot, but when you make the most of this situation, and I've seen what we did was we told our parents across the schools that try make the birthday of the child special. We'll have some online activity. You do it at home as well, and try make it special for the child as much as we can. And I think that's worked. Now I'm seeing so many videos flooded on my inbox on an everyday basis where the child has shot some video celebrating with the parents indoors, or FaceTiming their friends, or in the classroom talking to everyone. I think all of that has made a lot of difference as well. Another comment that came to us was that how do we plan our day? How do we do this? Because it's not simple doing this day in day out, and it might get very monotonous, very boring. And so what I've started doing is I've started dividing activities into units of time, and I've started saying that okay, I feel like doing this and I have a multitude of activities and I'll be able to do it. And it wasn't simple for me to plan it. You know what happened? I'm going to share this story about myself. Now, the day of the lockdown, we all were absolutely unaware what we are doing. Obviously, everyone was. Thankfully, we saw what was happening in China, in Italy, in the United States. We sort of preempted that there might be something happening in India as well. So we've actually been working from home since Holi. We've been our offices have been shut since Holi. And when the Honorable Prime Minister announced that there's going to be a lockdown, and then what I did was I signed up for a lot of online classes. I said that Coursera is the place to go. I get to study at Harvard. I get to interact with my peers from across the world. I planned that I'm gonna go, I'm gonna run, I'm gonna work out in the gym. I planned like 100 meals that I'm going to cook. I planned about picking up my music again, and I planned that I'll spend time with my daughter, with my wife on her business. I planned a lot of things, and on day one we did that. I did all of that, and on second day I was so exhausted that I didn't want to do anything. I couldn't get out of bed because I was so tired, and that's when I realized that I overplanned, and it just does not work that way. You need to be more granular with your planning. So we started dividing our things on units of time. So exercising during the day, 2 units of time, reading a book, 3 units of time, cooking for the family, you divide it during the course of the day, 2 units of time, spending time talking or listening to music, 1 unit of time. And we started doing that. So instead of being dependent on the task, we turned it around and we said that okay, now we have that liberty and luxury to schedule our day as per ourselves. This is what we need to do, and instead of overdoing it, we started underdoing it, and it's worked wonderfully well. And while we obviously this does not add up to anything that was there pre-COVID times, but we've made the most of this situation. More than that, I think it's made us learn things, do things that we were not being able to do in the normal course of our lives. We also started spending more time informing ourselves about what was happening in the world besides COVID-19. The positive news that was happening across the world, the good things that were being done by people people across the world. And that is something that we could never do previously. Previously, we would be absolutely engrossed in the headlines, the main news, and look at firefighting, because all of us who are working are always engrossed in firefighting and trying to strike out one fire on the other. And ultimately, we are able to see beyond just the numbers, etc. There's a lot of parents who reached out to us and said that, has it been easy for us to keep running schools the way we've been running previously? Has it been easy for us to manage to motivate our staff, our teachers, etc.? Now, motivation during these times has been very, very tough. But when you look at the responsibility that you have about shaping the futures of children, it makes everything fairly doable. Then you realize that you'll have to stand up to take responsibility. What I tell children all the time is that this COVID-19 induced lockdown has ensured that we've become more responsible, and we are not taking our liberties, the freedom that we have for doing a lot of things, we are not taking all of that for granted anymore. I think it's important for us to remember that do not take things for granted. Plan ahead, live life to the fullest, and I think that's something that's been key. The other day, I was on a webinar, and a parent asked me one question that ultimately, once the lockdown ends, and if my child is not ready to go back to school because my child is now conditioned staying at home, my child is conditioned learning with the parent and interacting with friends on screen, what do I do? So I asked the parent that, do you think that this is something that you are facing right now, or are you just anticipating this to happen sometime in the future? And she said that, we need to, she said that yes, we need to plan for it, because she's saying that she will never go back. She will never go back to school, and she would stay indoors because she's scared, the child is scared, and will not go back. Now that's a reality that the parent was facing, and that's a reality that made us think that is that something that we need to be prepared for? And unfortunately, the answer is yes. Unfortunately, the answer is that there is a reality, the other reality, where while we are absolutely engrossed trying to make life indoors, there's a reality, the other reality, that we might not want to go back to the life outside. When some offices opened up, now the government has said that you can open offices with social distancing norms, and 33% of your staff. We thought that we'll try find out as to what's happening. So with one of the industry associations, I ran a survey on Saturday night, and I was just trying to open it on my screen. I think my internet on the screen is not working, but to share the survey results with all of you. What we got from most of the employees was that we are more productive right now. We are being able to work better staying at home. We are working about 8 hours. There's no commute time. I know a lot of people from Ahmedabad and Gujarat are watching. About 2 hours of commute time is normal with the kind of traffic that you get in Ahmedabad. In Delhi, we get about 2.5, 3 hours of traffic as well. So there used to be a lot of traffic. So a lot of people actually answered that survey saying that, it's better for companies to be closed right now. Please don't open up. And that's when we realized, linking it back to that parent who told me that, the child does not want to go back. We as adults will have been conditioned to not go out. It's important for us to accept it, that yes, it will be difficult. Yes, it will be scary. But we will win this because we are in this together. We are all trying to support each other, and we want to come out of it stronger, better, more positive. And to do that, we'll need to again condition ourselves that it's all right. We face this, we tackle this entire thing, and we are out back with this again. Hopefully, the vaccination will be out very, very soon. I feel that whenever anyone wants to look at you, all our viewers here, whenever anyone wants to look at you for advice, whenever someone wants to talk to you, whenever someone is giving you some story about themselves, it's important to be a very patient listener. It's important to give them a hearing that, because unless you empathize with them, unless you are compassionate with them, they will not be able to build themselves upon it further. So, right. There was another comment which came to me very recently that, nowadays we are being less social, and we are being we are being more distant because of social distancing. And I strongly believe that because of social distancing, let us not be distant to each other. Let us not look at social distancing being a barrier between us and our loved ones. Instead, let us look at avenues, ways to connect with each other. I think it's important to be adaptable to the situation. So let social distancing not distant you. Try connect with people more than you can. I think that's one of the most important things that you can do at this point of time. Ultimately, once all of this is over, once all of this is beyond us, past us, whatever you might want to say, once we are all back to sort of the normal world outside and we are okay about it, we'll have to be okay about continuing with this new balance that we found now with being home, being online, and being in our workplace. I think that's very, very important for us to remember. One important sort of cross benefit that's happened because of this COVID induced lockdown is that our environment. Now, if you would Google my name, you would know that I'm one of the co-founders of My Right to Breathe, and we work on air pollution related issues, and we are tracking things across the world as to how the lockdown and the closures of companies has affected air pollution as well. And obviously air pollution has come down. Obviously the AQI levels are down and it's working, and this is Mother Nature's way of showing that I am the boss. Mother Nature is the boss, and she's told us that until and unless you take care of things, things are going to be horrible. When air pollution peaked up in 2016, and when we started talking about it, when we made it more serious, when we started looking at it more seriously, we understood that this is going to be a big task ahead of us. Unfortunately, we did not look at Mother Nature's warning at that time about air pollution very seriously. This is Mother Nature giving us more warning that let us focus on things that are more important. What are the things that are more important? The environment is more important. Our lives is more important. Being kind to each other is more important. Planting of trees is more important. Saving of trees is more important. Until and unless we take care of our planet Earth, survival for each and every one will become difficult. I know, and I say this very jokingly in a lot of panel discussions, that Elon Musk is planning a life on Mars. I'm a big fan of Elon Musk, but that does not look like a possibility, at least right now, not for the next 5-10 years. So we got to do what we got to do is make the most of things that are here. I think most important thing that will happen post the lockdown is that once things open up, the environment would start dipping, and it is our responsibility as adults, as responsible citizens of this country, as humanity, to make sure that we don't repeat the same problems, don't repeat the same mistakes that led to air pollution, that led to pollution levels going up worldwide. We need to ensure that we keep it low. And this is not just for you and me. This is for our children. This is for the future. This is for ensuring that we are not affecting their lives, their age by anything. You're not giving them ailments. So the things that you're doing right now, which are going well, I would recommend continue doing that. Especially for nature, especially for Mother Earth. I think that's important. You don't want her to get angry all over again and then turn around and give us another pandemic that's going to lock us down inside our houses. I think that's important for us to remember as well. When we talk about mental health, when we talk about acclimatization, when we talk about being depressed, when we talk about withdrawal symptoms, these are all technical terms. When we talk about attention-seeking behavior, when we talk about these things, we get very shy. we get very upset about someone's written, not at all, no more pandemics. I agree with you. I really hope that no more pandemics. But when we talk about these terms, and we get very shy, we try to steer clear of these terms. We never address it. I'm one of the stronger voices about mental health problems across the world, and I feel that we should talk about it more. We must have counseling happening, not just for our children, but also for our teachers, for our parents, for everyone. It's important to do that, because if I have pain in my wrist, I'll go to the doctor and I'll put a bandage across or take some medicines and be all right, because it's all right to have a pain on my wrist. But if I have some mental issue that then I don't want to go to the doctor, because it's somehow embarrassing for me to say that I might have some depression or might be scared. Please do not be scared. Please do not be embarrassed about any mental health issues. It's important for you to talk about it. If you think that you need professional help, please go out there and reach out to someone who would be able to help you out. There are lots of resources available. Please do not shy back from it. Please also, there's another couple of more problems which have come up in the last few months. Cases of domestic abuse have gone up because people have been home and they've been depressed. Please reach out about these things. It's important for you to talk about this. If we have to change the society, if we have to change the humanity, it's important for us to address our emotions. It's important for us to address the mental well-being as well. And you will be able to talk to professionals and figure out that if it's a phase or if it's something that might require medical intervention. Nothing to be embarrassed about. And someone's just written that understand that there's no shame in addressing our distress. It's always good to seek help. Absolutely. It's absolutely important to seek help, because just talking sometimes might not help. Someone's also written that there's stats that say that an increase in the number of help online for mental health issues during lockdown. Yes, absolutely. So this is what we are talking about. There's so many cases that have now come up, and I'm so glad that people are talking about it some. But if your child also displays some symptoms, if your child also has sudden withdrawal or sudden urges or more than normal mood swings, mind you, there will be mood swings, there will be urges, there will be some irritation, all of that will be there. But if you see that on an excessive way, or if you see a child who was previously very chirpy suddenly becoming very quiet, or vice versa, if all of that is happening, please, I would strongly recommend seek medical help, seek intervention. But do not forget the things that we talked about previously. Do not forget about aerobe, where I spoke to you about having agility, reflection, looking at this as an opportunity, having patience, having empathy. Please do not forget about these things, even if there are other problems that you're being faced with. Do not forget the 5 C's. They will help you out. Have a lot of compassion. Show a lot of cheerfulness. Stay clean all the time. Keep cleaning your hands. Stay connected with people across, and stay calm. Stay as calm as you can. I think ultimately this is what will help us win this fight. I think ultimately we'll come out of this stronger, better, more connected, more positive, and this will make the difference between us and the previous generations. This is what will make previous generations. When I say, a lot of people ask me this question, do you mean the old times? I say no. The generation that I was also before the COVID, and now very, very changed as a person, not taking things for granted and doing things for each other. So that is what I look at as the previous generation now. Great. I think I was just looking at the watch. I think my time's done. But I had a lot of fun talking to everyone. I'm so glad that people took time out to listen to us. And if there are any questions, feel free to ask me those questions. Feel free to reach out at any time. My name is Kanak Gupta, and I would like to once again thank the Calorex Group for inviting me for this session. I had a lot of fun talking, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask at any time. Right. Great. Thank you so much. Anantaji, with your due permission, I would be ending the session then. Great. I'm so glad to get a lot of messages from parents, teachers, principals, etc. I'm glad that you loved it. Thank you so much. Great. Appreciate your comments. Great. All right. Thanks, guys. Take care. Stay safe. Take care of your families. Take care of yourselves. Take care of those around you. Continue learning. Continue growing. And I am confident that we will meet very, very soon in a format which is such as this, or we will meet in the real world. Please do keep in touch, and I hope that you will continue being safe. Take care. All the best. God bless. Jai Hind. Jai Bharat.